The Deep Space Monitoring Station on Luna Base didn't usually get much excitement. Most days, Tom Reed just watched the endless stream of data from the solar system's outer edges, marking the occasional asteroid or comet. But today was different. Very different. "Sir, you need to see this," called Lisa from her monitoring station. Her voice shook slightly as she spoke. "Something big just appeared at the edge of our detection range." Tom walked over to her station, coffee cup in hand. As he looked at the readings, hot coffee splashed onto the floor. The cup fell from his suddenly lifeless fingers. "Get me Earth Command. Now." Within hours, every major space agency on Earth was buzzing with activity. The readings were clear. A massive fleet of ships had appeared just beyond Neptune's orbit. They weren't moving. They were just there, hundreds of them, each larger than anything humans had ever built. Captain James Walker stood at attention in Earth Command's main conference room. The walls displayed live feeds from space telescopes, all focused on the mysterious fleet. General Thompson paced back and forth, his weathered face deep in thought. "Captain, your ship is the fastest we have," the general said, stopping to face Walker. "The horizon can reach the fleet in 3 days. We need eyes out there." Walker nodded. "What are my orders if they show hostile intent?" "Run. Run like hell." The general's face was grim. "But first, try to talk to them. If anyone's even alive out there." The Horizon, humanity's most advanced spacecraft, broke orbit 12 hours later. Its fusion drives blazed bright against Earth's night sky, visible to millions watching from below. The crew of 20 was handpicked, the best Earth had to offer. As they approached the fleet 3 days later, Walker felt his heart pounding. The alien ships were massive, dark shapes against the stars. No lights, no visible activity. The closest ship was nearly 2 kilometers long. "Any emissions?" Walker asked his sensor officer, Mark. "Nothing in the usual spectrums, sir." "Wait." Mark adjusted his instruments. "I'm picking up very faint power signatures. They're running on something like emergency power. Life support levels, barely." Walker made his decision. "Broadcast on all frequencies, all languages we know. Keep it simple." The message was basic. "This is Captain James Walker of the Earth Ship Horizon. We offer assistance if needed. Please respond." For 20 tense minutes, nothing happened. Then suddenly, a weak signal reached them. The computer struggled to translate it, but eventually, words formed on their screens. "Earth ship, help. Power systems failed. Life support critical. Refugees." Walker ordered the Horizon closer. As they approached, they could see more details. The ships were clearly advanced, but they showed no signs of weapons. Their hulls bore strange markings that looked more like art than military insignia. The next transmission was clearer. "I am Admiral Rix. We are Meridians. Our fleet carries 50,000 souls. Power systems. Cascading failure. Please, help." Walker sent an immediate message back to Earth, then responded to the alien admiral. "We're here to help. Tell us what you need." The response was slow in coming. "Our fusion drives, different from yours, tried to cross too much space. Systems couldn't handle it. Now we drift." Over the next few hours, Walker and his crew learned more. The Meridians were refugees, fleeing their dying star system. Their advanced drives had promised to carry them to safety, but something had gone wrong. Now they were stranded, running on emergency power, with 50,000 lives hanging in the balance. As the Horizon maintained position near the massive alien fleet, Walker looked out at the dark ships. He thought about humanity's history, about all the times people had helped refugees, had reached out to those in need. Now, humanity faced its greatest test. Could they save an entire alien civilization? Walker opened a channel to Earth Command. "General, we have a situation here, and I think Earth just got its first chance to show the galaxy what humanity is really made of. In the darkness of space, the horizon's lights shone bright against the hull of the alien flagship. It was just the beginning of what would become humanity's greatest rescue mission, and perhaps its greatest adventure. Captain Walker stood in the horizon's airlock, checking his suit's seals one last time. Behind him, Dr. Anna Miller, the ship's chief engineer, did the same. They were about to make humanity's first physical contact with an alien species. "Remember," Walker said through his helmet radio, "we're here to help them. But stay alert. We don't know what we might find in there." The docking tube extended from the horizon to the Meridian flagship's emergency airlock. As they floated through, their helmet lights cut through the darkness. The alien ship's emergency lighting cast a faint blue glow along the corridors. "This is amazing," Anna whispered, her light beam playing across walls covered in flowing patterns. "Their technology is beautiful." They followed Admiral Rix's directions through the ship. The corridors were wide, clearly designed for beings roughly human-sized. After 5 minutes of careful movement, they reached the bridge. The airlock cycled, and they entered a large, circular room. Emergency lights pulsed softly, illuminating dozens of control stations. And there, waiting for them, stood the Meridians. Walker's first thought was how surprisingly human-like they were. Tall and slender, with silvery skin that seemed to shimmer in the dim light, they stood on 2 legs and had 2 arms. Their faces were elegant, with large, deep purple eyes that seemed to glow faintly. Admiral Rix stepped forward. He wore what looked like a uniform, dark blue with flowing silver patterns. "Captain Walker," he said through a translator device, "thank you for coming." His voice was tired but dignified. "We're here to help," Walker replied. "Can you show us what happened to your power systems?" The next hour was a crash course in Meridian technology. Anna moved from station to station with their chief engineer, Tor, examining readings and diagrams. The problem became clear. The Meridians had attempted to use their advanced fusion drives to cross a vast distance quickly. But the intense energy requirements had caused a cascading failure throughout their fleet. "Our people," Rix explained, "we had no choice. Our star was dying. We had to leave quickly." He showed them images of their home system, a red giant star swelling dangerously, threatening their worlds. "How many ships?" Anna asked, looking at the technical readouts. 322, Tor answered, each carrying between 100 and 500 people, plus cargo ships with our civilization's knowledge, art, and culture. Walker's mind raced with the implications. This wasn't just a rescue mission anymore. This was about saving an entire civilization's heritage. "The good news," Anna said, looking up from a display, "is that their fusion technology isn't completely different from ours. It's more advanced, yes, but the basic principles are similar. We might be able to help." "But there's bad news," Walker asked, knowing his engineer's tone. "We can't fix all the ships quickly enough. Some are already reaching critical levels on life support. We need to prioritize." Admiral Rix straightened his tall frame. "My ship should be last. Save the civilian ships first." Walker nodded, respecting the Admiral's leadership. He opened his comm link to the horizon. "Mark, contact Earth Command. Tell them we need every available ship out here, and get me a direct line to the International Space Agency's engineering division." As they worked out preliminary plans, Walker noticed something on one of the screens. "Admiral, what are these readings?" Rix moved closer. "Star charts. We mapped thousands of systems during our journey, including many suitable for human colonization." "You'd share this information?" Walker asked, surprised. "Captain," Rix's purple eyes seemed to glow brighter, "if you help us survive, we will share everything we know. Perhaps together, both our species can find new homes among the stars." Walker looked around the alien bridge at humans and Meridians already working together to solve problems. This was more than just a rescue mission now. This was the beginning of something much bigger. "First things first," he said. "Let's save your people. Then we can talk about exploring the galaxy together." Outside the flagship's windows, more human ships were appearing, their engines bright against the darkness. The greatest engineering challenge in human history was about to begin. The United Nations emergency session was unlike any in human history. Representatives from every nation sat in stunned silence as they watched the video feed from the horizon. Admiral Rix's message was simple and direct. 50,000 refugees needed help, and their time was running out. Ladies and gentlemen, General Thompson stood at the podium, his voice firm. We have less than 30 days before the first civilian ships begin losing life support completely. The question isn't whether we should help, but how. In the back of the chamber, Dr. Anna Miller waited nervously. She'd been called back to Earth to present her findings, leaving Captain Walker with the fleet. As she walked to the podium, she felt the weight of 50,000 alien lives on her shoulders. The Meridian fusion technology is more advanced than ours, she began, displaying technical diagrams on the huge screens. But that's actually good news. It means we can adapt our simpler, more robust systems to work with theirs. Questions flew from the audience. How much will this cost? Can we trust them? What do they offer in return? Anna held up her hand. With all respect, every minute we spend debating is a minute closer to catastrophe. The Meridians have already offered us their star charts, their scientific knowledge, and their technology. But that's not why we should help. She paused, looking around the room. We should help because we can, because that's what humanity does. Throughout our history, whenever disaster struck, we've helped those in need. This is no different. The refugees just come from a bit further away than usual. In orbit above Earth, ships were already being prepared. The space agencies of 12 nations had combined their resources. Cargo vessels were being loaded with fusion generators, power cells, and supplies. Engineers worked around the clock, adapting human technology to work with Meridian systems. At the Russian Space Center in Moscow, technicians pulled old nuclear submarine reactors out of storage. The simple, reliable designs might help power the alien life support systems. In China, scientists worked on adapting their new fusion plants for space deployment. The European Space Agency converted orbital solar arrays into emergency power stations. Back in the UN chamber, the debate continued, until an unexpected voice spoke up. Robert Kane, a historian, stood to address the assembly. In 1939, Operation Dynamo saved over 300,000 soldiers from Dunkirk. In 2004, the world united to help tsunami victims. In 2020, nations worked together against a global pandemic. Today, we face our greatest rescue mission, not just saving lives, but making humanity's first mark on galactic history. The chamber fell silent. Then, one by one, nations began pledging support. India offered its fleet of space tugs. Japan promised its advanced robotics teams. Brazil opened its spaceports for emergency launches. Even smaller nations offered what they could: medical supplies, food, technical expertise. The project was named Operation Lighthouse, a beacon of hope in the darkness of space. At Mission Control in Houston, engineers created a massive holographic display showing all 322 Meridian ships. Red icons marked the most critical cases, ships that would lose life support first. Yellow showed ships with more time. Green marked the few ships still operating safely on emergency power. As Anna studied the display, her tablet beeped with a message from Captain Walker. "How's it looking down there?" She typed back, "Humanity's doing what it does best, coming together in a crisis. Help is coming." Across Earth, factory production shifted to create needed components. Space centers worked overtime preparing launch vehicles. Universities worldwide focused their research on solving the technical challenges. In orbit, the first wave of human ships prepared to launch. 20 vessels, carrying emergency power supplies and technical teams, would reach the Meridian fleet in 3 days. The greatest rescue mission in human history had begun. And for the first time, the galaxy would see what humanity could do when united by a common cause. Admiral Rix's words echoed in mission control. We had heard humans were a young species. Now we understand. You are young, but your hearts are ancient and wise in the ways of helping others. As repair teams worked on the Meridian ship's power systems, something unexpected began to happen. What started as simple technical cooperation grew into much more. On the Meridian flagship, Captain Walker watched as his crew shared a meal with their alien counterparts. The Meridians had set up a temporary dining area where both species could eat together, despite their different atmospheric needs. Through special windows, they could see each other while eating their own food in their own air. Your people are fascinating, Admiral Rix said, watching through the window. They ask so many questions. Walker smiled. We're curious by nature, sometimes too curious. No, Rix's purple eyes glowed warmly. That curiosity is your strength. Look there. He pointed to where Dr. Anna Miller sat with Chief Engineer Tor, both excitedly drawing diagrams on tablets as they ate. They had discovered that while Meridian technology was more advanced, human engineering often found simpler solutions to common problems. In another corner, Mark from the Horizons crew was learning about Meridian star maps. The aliens had explored thousands of systems during their journey, documenting everything they found. But it was Mark who spotted patterns they had missed, possible signs of other civilizations they hadn't noticed. Your people see things differently, Tor told Anna during one of their work sessions. We focus on perfection, on finding the most advanced solution. You humans, you look for what works, even if it's not perfect. This exchange of ideas wasn't limited to the flagship. Across the fleet, as human repair teams worked on different ships, they met Meridian families, scholars, and artists. Each ship carried a piece of Meridian civilization: libraries, art galleries, seed banks, and historical records. One discovery excited the human scientists more than anything else. The Meridians had developed a way to store massive amounts of data in crystals. A single crystal the size of a finger could hold more information than all of Earth's computers combined. We will share this technology, Admiral Rix announced during a joint meeting. Along with everything else we know, it's the least we can do in return for your help. But the Meridians were learning just as much from humans. They were amazed by Earth's music, by the way humans used rhythm and melody to tell stories. Soon, the repair teams started bringing musical instruments to work. During break times, the ships filled with the sounds of human songs. The Meridians shared their own art, incredible holographic displays that turned entire rooms into moving landscapes. They showed scenes from their home world, beautiful cities built into crystal mountains, and forests of silver-leaf trees under their dying sun. We kept so much of our culture, Admiral Rix told Walker as they watched one such display. But we nearly lost it all because we relied too much on our advanced technology. Your people are teaching us about backup plans, about simpler solutions. The children of both species proved especially quick to make friends. Through transparent barriers, human and Meridian kids invented games they could play together. They drew pictures for each other and pressed their hands against the barriers in greeting. One young Meridian girl gave Anna a crystal containing her family's story, how they left their dying world, their long journey through space, and their rescue by humans. So you won't forget us, she said through the translator. As if they could ever forget. The repair work continued day and night, but now it had become more than just a rescue mission. Two civilizations were learning from each other, growing stronger together. Human ingenuity combined with Meridian knowledge was already producing new innovations. Perhaps, Walker said to Rix as they watched their crews working together, this wasn't just an accident. Maybe this was meant to happen, this meeting of our peoples. Rix looked at him thoughtfully. In our culture, we have a saying, the stars guide us to those we need to meet. I'm beginning to think they guided us to Earth for a reason. Outside the ship's windows, Earth's vessels moved between the huge Meridian ships, looking tiny but determined, like worker bees helping to repair a giant hive. Together, they were writing the first chapter of a new story, the story of humanity's entry into the galactic community. Time was running out. In the main engineering bay of the Meridian flagship, Dr. Anna Miller stared at the holographic display showing the fleet's power levels. Too many ships were now blinking red. The simple power transfers aren't enough anymore, she told Captain Walker and Admiral Ricks. We need a permanent solution, and we need it fast. The temporary power connections from human ships had helped, but they couldn't support the entire fleet forever. They needed to fix the Meridian fusion drives themselves. What about the submarine reactors? Walker asked, referring to the old nuclear power plants they'd brought from Earth. Anna shook her head. Too weak on their own. But, she paused, an idea forming. What if we combined them with Meridian technology? Chief Engineer Tor tilted his head, his silver skin reflecting the emergency lights. Combine them? That's never been done before. Exactly, Anna said, growing excited. Your fusion drives are more advanced than ours, but they're also more complex. That's why they failed. But our old submarine reactors, they're simple, reliable. What if we used them as a foundation and built your technology on top? The next 12 hours were a blur of activity. Engineers from both species worked together, trying to merge two completely different technologies. The submarine reactor was like a sturdy brick house. Not pretty, but strong. The Meridian drive was like a crystal palace. Beautiful and powerful, but delicate. Problems appeared immediately. The power outputs didn't match. The control systems couldn't talk to each other. The materials weren't compatible. It's not working, Tor said after another failed test. Perhaps we should try something else. But Anna noticed something during the last test. Wait, what if we're thinking about this wrong? We're trying to make them work together as equals. What if instead? She pulled up the designs again. What if we use your crystal power conduits, but configure them like our old power grids? Simple parallel circuits instead of your normal complex networks. Tor's eyes widened. Yes, yes, like stepping stones across a river instead of building a bridge. They worked through the night. Human engineers brought in parts from their oldest ships and newest fusion plants. Meridian technicians adapted their crystal technology to work in new ways. Slowly, a hybrid power system began to take shape. It wasn't pretty. The final design looked like something from an old science fiction movie. Gleaming Meridian crystals connected to chunky human machinery with thick power cables. But when they ran the first test, power output at 30%, called out Mark from his monitoring station. 40%, 50%. The room held its breath. 60%, 70%, holding steady at 75%. Cheers erupted from both humans and Meridians. It wasn't perfect. The Meridian drives usually operated at 95% efficiency, but it was more than enough to keep the ships running and even moving at decent speed. We'll need to build hundreds of these hybrid systems, Anna said, already planning ahead, and install them in every ship. We can do it, Walker replied. We'll have every factory on Earth producing the parts we need. Admiral Ricks studied the hybrid drive with glowing eyes. It's not what we would have designed, but perhaps that's why it works. Sometimes the best path forward isn't the most elegant one. But their celebration was cut short by an urgent message from another ship. Life support failing on civilian Vessel 14. Backup power not responding. Walker and Ricks shared a quick look. They had a working solution now, but could they implement it fast enough? 322 ships needed the new hybrid drives, and some were already in critical condition. How quickly can we build these? Walker asked. Anna checked her calculations, with every factory on Earth helping. Maybe fast enough. Maybe. Outside the flagship's windows, Earth ships were already moving into position, ready to begin the largest engineering project in human history. The race to save 50,000 lives was entering its final phase. Well, Walker said, looking at the strange but functional hybrid drive, we've proved it can work. Now we just have to prove we can work fast enough. The emergency alarms on Ship 14 screamed through the corridors as its life support systems failed one by one. Inside the ship's main hall, 300 Meridian civilians huddled together, their silver skin dulled by the lack of power. The air was getting thin. How long? Captain Walker demanded, looking at the status display on the horizon. 20 minutes of breathable atmosphere left, Mark replied, his fingers flying over the controls. Maybe less. They had a working hybrid drive now, thanks to Anna and Tor's breakthrough. But building and installing it would take hours. Hours they didn't have. Start the evacuation, Walker ordered. Get everyone off that ship now. Across the fleet, human ships sprang into action. They had drilled for this, but it was still challenging. Meridians needed different atmospheric conditions than humans. Each rescue ship had specially prepared sealed compartments with the right air mix. The Horizon led the rescue operation. Walker watched as human crews in environmental suits helped Meridian families through emergency airlocks. Children were carried, elders were supported, no one was left behind. Ships 23 and 47 are also showing critical power failures. Anna reported from the engineering station. We're going to lose more before we can save them all. But humanity had learned from the first emergency. Ships from every nation on Earth had arrived, forming the largest rescue fleet ever assembled. Chinese cargo vessels, modified to carry Meridian civilians. Russian icebreakers, their nuclear engines powering life support for multiple alien ships. Indian space tugs, moving critical supplies between vessels. In orbit around Earth, temporary habitats were being assembled. The Meridian refugees would need somewhere to stay while their ships were being repaired. Countries around the world had offered to host them, proving that humanity's hospitality extended even to visitors from the stars. Ship 14 is clear, Mark announced. All civilians evacuated. But they couldn't evacuate everyone. Some ships carried irreplaceable cargo, the seeds of Meridian plants, frozen embryos of their wildlife, libraries of their knowledge and culture. These ships had to be saved. Anna's voice came over the radio from another ship where she was installing a hybrid drive. The installation process is too slow. We need to think differently again. Walker looked at Admiral Ricks, who had refused to leave his post despite the dangers. What if we linked the ships together? Share power between them. Ricks's eyes glowed with understanding. Yes, like your old city power grids. We never considered it because our systems were too advanced to need such backup measures. The next hours were a blur of activity. Ships were carefully maneuvered into groups. Power cables, both human and Meridian, created webs between vessels. Ships with working hybrid drives shared power with those still waiting for installation. Not everything went smoothly. 2 more ships had to be evacuated. A power coupling exploded, injuring 3 human engineers. But no lives were lost. Through it all, the cooperation between humans and Meridians grew stronger. Human ingenuity combined with Meridian technology. When standard tools didn't work, they improvised. When conventional solutions failed, they tried unconventional ones. Look at this, Anna said during a brief rest break, showing Walker a modified Earth communications tablet. The Meridians helped us improve it. Now it can translate their language instantly. Small breakthroughs like this happened everywhere. Both species learned from each other, grew stronger together. Even in the midst of crisis, progress was being made. By the time Earth's sun rose the next day, 30 ships had working hybrid drives. 15 more were safely connected to power grids. The refugee habitats were ready to receive their first guests. We're going to make it, Walker told Ricks as they watched another successful drive installation. It won't be fast. It won't be easy, but we're going to save everyone. Ricks nodded slowly. You know, Captain, when our drives failed, and we found ourselves near your solar system, we feared we had reached our end. Instead, we found something we never expected. What's that? Hope. Not just for survival, but for a future brighter than we imagined. together. 1 month after the first emergency, Captain Walker stood at the observation window of the horizon, watching the Meridian fleet. Where once there had been darkness, now lights blazed from every ship. The hybrid drives hummed with steady power, their unique combination of human and alien technology working better than anyone had expected. The last drive installation is complete, Anna reported, pride clear in her voice. All 322 ships are running on full power. Not a single life had been lost. There had been close calls, injuries, and countless sleepless nights, but humanity had done it. They had saved an entire civilization. Admiral Rix entered the observation room, his silver skin glowing healthily again. "Captain, Dr. Miller, would you join me? There's something I need to show you." They followed him to the flagship's grand hall, where hundreds of humans and Meridians had gathered. The room's holographic systems were active, filling the space with stunning images of stars and planets. "These," Rick said, gesturing to the display, "are the worlds we discovered during our journey. 57 of them could support human life. We offer this knowledge to Earth, along with our faster-than-light drive technology, once we repair it properly." A murmur of excitement ran through the human crowd. Faster-than-light travel had been a dream for humanity. Now it would become reality. "But that's not all," Rix continued. "We propose something more. A partnership. Many of these worlds could support both our species. We could build new homes together." Walker looked at the displayed worlds. Beautiful planets with blue oceans, green and silver forests, mountains reaching into pink and purple skies. The future suddenly seemed endless with possibilities. The next day, at the United Nations, humanity gave its answer. Representatives from every nation voted unanimously to accept the Meridian proposal. But Earth had its own offer to make. "Until your ships are fully repaired," the Secretary General announced, "we invite you to make Earth your temporary home. Not in orbital habitats, but on our world. Every nation has offered to host Meridian families." The Meridians accepted. Within weeks, their people began moving to Earth in small groups. Silver-skinned children played in parks under Earth's sun. Meridian scientists worked in human universities. Their artists shared galleries with human creators. At a small ceremony in Geneva, Walker watched as human and Meridian leaders signed the first interstellar treaty in Earth's history. But his attention was drawn to something else, a group of human and Meridian children playing with a new toy. It was a model of the hybrid drive that had saved the fleet, but they had turned it into a game, building it in different ways to see who could make it glow brightest. "That's our real future right there," Anna said, following his gaze. "The children who will grow up knowing we're not alone in the universe, who will see cooperation between species as normal." The Meridians had already begun sharing their technology. Hospitals were using their crystal data storage to revolutionize medical research. Their environmental systems were helping clean Earth's pollution. Human spaceships were being redesigned with Meridian improvements. And humanity was teaching too. The Meridians were learning about human music, art, and literature. They were discovering the value of keeping backup systems, of sometimes choosing simple solutions over elegant ones. Most importantly, they were learning about human determination and compassion. 6 months after the rescue, the first joint human Meridian mission launched. The ship, named New Dawn, carried crews from both species. Its mission: to explore those 57 promising worlds and prepare for the future. As Walker watched the ship depart, Admiral Rix stood beside him. "You know," the Meridian said, "when our drives failed and we found Earth, we thought it was our darkest hour. Instead, it turned out to be our brightest moment." "Funny how things work out," Walker replied. "You came looking for a place to survive, and instead we both found a way to thrive." Above them, Earth's night sky was filled with stars, no longer distant and unreachable, but full of promise and possibility. Humanity had passed its first galactic test. They had proved they were ready to join the wider universe. And this was just the beginning.